Chapter 1. Life is an infinite game with many finite games as subunits. The journey of life is filled with twists and turns, happiness, joy, and a whole range of ups and downs. But most importantly, life is a journey with several events and experiences. Most of these are competitions where winners and losers are declared, but some are not meant to be a competition. Those are a continuity, an infinite game. For example, the competition between students in class is a finite game. While in school, you could come first or last in a course, but your career is not a finite game because you're not competing with anyone. In finite games, you can only be ahead or behind, not first or last. The idea of finite and infinite games was first documented by Professor James P. Carse, who wrote a treatise titled Finite and Infinite Games, A Vision of Life as Play and Possibility in 1986. That little treatise set the motion for Simon Sinek's further study on the subject. This tidbit was born out of his numerous studies on the game of life. In this summary, you will learn to differentiate between finite and infinite games. This will absolutely help you in your personal and professional life. Among the things you will learn from this book is that business and career are not finite games that end with you. They are meant to be transgenerational, and you're only a player in the bigger scope of things. And lastly, you will learn strategies for living the transgenerational life. Chapter 2. Business is an infinite game and should be treated as such. Finite games consist of a particular number of well-known players who play by clearly defined rules. Such games have a definite beginning, middle, and end. A finite game ends when certain laid-out conditions have been met by one party. That group or individual is declared the winner, while the other is named the loser. A good example of a finite game is football. There are 11 players per team, and players are penalized if they violate the rules of the game. The game runs for a defined time, usually 90 minutes, after which the winner and the loser are declared. But infinite games are quite the opposite. They consist of known and unknown players. The game doesn't end at a particular time. Players only come and go. Plus, there aren't any particularly specified rules of engagement. There exist broad rules to guide the game, but players could go against these rules and still escape being penalized. This can't happen in a finite game. Business is a good example of an infinite game. When business leaders begin to imbibe the competition mindset, they shift focus from satisfying customers to winning the market share, irrespective of what their customers think about their products or services. But leaders with infinite mindsets approach things differently, and they have better results. An infinite leader isn't concerned so much about the public image of their business or the amount of profits coming in as much as they are concerned with the welfare of their employees and consumers. Successful business organizations have always been those who selflessly play the infinite game. One major advantage of approaching business as an infinite game is that it prepares you to handle the shocks and surprises that can't be avoided in the business world. The true value of an organization is measured by the desire others have to contribute to that organization's ability to keep succeeding, not just during the time they are there, but well beyond their own tenure. Simon Sinek. There are 5 essential practices that people who play with an infinite mindset must abide by to be successful. Advance a just cause, build trusting teams, study your worthy rivals, prepare for existential flexibility, demonstrate the courage to lead. In the following chapters, we will explore each of these 5 essential practices, 1 chapter per practice. Let's roll. Chapter 3. Infinite leaders are those who advance a just cause. It is challenging to get people to accomplish a particular goal if there isn't any promised reward. Even with a good reward system, there is no guarantee that people will pour out their lives in working for an organization. But the narrative changes when there is a future state, a just cause worth pursuing. An organization with a just cause will always get commitment from its members. It's human nature to want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. This is why military personnel are committed to serving their nations, for example. It's also why people committed to religion sacrifice their lives for their convictions. Similarly, an infinite leader must be driven by a deep conviction, a just cause that's inspiring enough to deserve his commitment and that of others. According to Simon Sinek, a just cause is a specific vision of a future state that does not yet exist, a future state so appealing that people are willing to make sacrifices in order to help advance toward that vision. Just causes are so big that selflessness is required to fulfill them. Also, no one can achieve a just cause all by themselves. An organization with an infinite leader, driven by the right cause, is a dream for many. People in such organizations may not be highly paid, but they will love their jobs and always be ready to sacrifice time and resources to advance the vision of their organization. Do you have an inspiring just cause? Is it futuristic and devoid of selfishness? If you don't, then take the first step in becoming an infinite leader. Develop a just cause for your organization. And if your organization has a just cause before you even join, it's your duty to adhere to that vision all through your time there. Always remember, your job as an infinite leader is not to win the game, but to play your part faithfully as a member of an endless chain that has people ahead of you and more coming behind. A just cause must have the following characteristics: for something, affirmative and optimistic; inclusive, open to all those who would like to contribute; service-oriented, for the primary benefit of others; resilient, able to endure political, technological, and cultural change; idealistic, big, bold, and ultimately achievable. Chapter 4. If you want to scale the performance of your team, focus on building trusting teams. In the previous chapter, we emphasized that teams work best when motivated and inspired by a just cause that is bigger than them. While you need a great vision to get folks inspired enough to work in your organization, you also need to do something entirely different to boost their performance level. You must get through to their emotions. Human beings are emotional creatures. No amount of professionalism can rule that out. If you want people to willingly do things in your favor, you'll have to appeal to their emotions. When working with a group of professional adults, it's best to create an environment of trust and vulnerability. You have to make everyone on the team realize that no one will judge them for being vulnerable. If your team can't freely express their weaknesses and be confident in your support or the support of the other team members, then you don't have a high-performing team. If you want to create a culture of trust and performance where there is none, then cultivate the habit of listening to your team members. Simon Sinek told the story of Chief Jack Cawley, who turned his police department around in just a few months of his posting because he understood how to build trusting teams. When Chief Cawley was posted to Castle Rock Police Department, CRPD, he instantly realized that something was missing. There was a competition culture among the officers, and they didn't seem to trust each other at all. To change this, Chief Cawley set aside blocks of time for one-on-one listening sessions with each sworn officer and staff member of the department. After a series of listening sessions, he realized a common need. The staff all wanted their past leaders to fence the station. They had actually appealed for it, but were turned down because the authorities thought there were better things to spend money on. Trust is the stacking and layering of small amounts and reciprocal vulnerability over time. Brené Brown. In a few short weeks, Chief Cawley had the fence erected. That was the beginning of a culture change in the department. His regular listening sessions brought him closer to the staff, making them realize psychologically that he believed in and cared for them. You too can practice the same thing. It won't cost you much to listen attentively to your team members, but the results of that will blow your mind. Chapter 5. Don't fight your rivals, learn from them, and grow. Competition is inevitable. You'll always have someone doing something better than you. Now, there are two ways to react when you discover that someone. You could become finite in your thinking and start looking for ways to outplay the other player, or you could be infinite and realize you need the competition to push you more towards self-improvement. You see, the moment you stop seeing other people's success as competition and start thinking of it as rivalry, something wonderful happens. You will start getting inspired by the strengths of your rivals, and this will propel you to work on your weaknesses until you become better. The result? You won't necessarily beat the other players because that has stopped being your ultimate objective. Rather, the new strengths you gained will give you an incredible boost in your endeavor. It is important to celebrate our victories, but we cannot linger on them. The infinite game is still going, and there is still much work to be done. Simon Sinek. Don't fight your rivals. Get inspired by them, and you will start getting better at what you do. One more point is that rivalry will make you find the why for the things you do. Rivalry is a necessary requirement for success in an infinite game. Start intentionally seeking rivals. You'll find them everywhere, depending on your leadership position and career path. When you find them, keep them on your radar so you are constantly motivated and challenged by them. Chapter 6. Infinite-minded readers are not afraid of existential flexibility. Before Walt Disney built Disneyland in 1952, he had a flourishing business around what he loved doing best, which was entertaining people through animation videos. Consequently, people thought him mad when he branched out of that business and started selling his assets as well as the share he held in the company. It would have been understandable if the business was failing, but it wasn't. However, Disney wasn't crazy. He only did what every visionary, infinite-thinking leader would do in his shoes. His reason for selling the business and liquidating his assets was simple. The company was doing well, but it was no longer serving his just cause. Disney left and built Disneyland, a company that would better advance his just cause of relieving people of stress and transporting them to a world of their wildest dreams. What Disney exhibited is called existential flexibility. Simon Sinek defines it as the capacity to initiate an extreme disruption to a business model or strategic course in order to more effectively advance a just cause. For infinite-minded leaders, business is a vehicle for advancing a just cause, not merely a means to gain profits. Don't be afraid to disrupt or restructure your business when it starts going in a direction that obviously won't advance your company's vision. Understand that existential flex is different from adjustment to meet the requirements of a changing world. For instance, most newspapers changed their business models because of the demands of the digital age. That's not existential flex. They just remodeled to stay in business. Remodeling is good in the face of changes, and just about any wise leader readjusts, but it takes infinite thinking to muster enough courage to make an existential flex possible. Did you know? Having your phone in sight, even if it's silent and flipped upside down, can still be distracting. To fully focus and be productive, try to keep your phone away from your eye view when working. Conclusion. It takes a lot of courage to make an infinite decision in a world driven by finite thinking. As an infinite leader, you must learn to not allow your decisions to be influenced by what finite thinkers will think. It takes courage to live this way, and it's challenging to do it all alone. To make things easier, surround yourself with trusting teams that collectively believe in your vision or just cause. You will also need a rivalry to keep you on your toes. Most importantly, prioritize your vision above all else. CVS Caremark demonstrated this sort of courage in 2014 when they decided to stop selling tobacco products in all their 2,800 stores. The reason was simple. Selling tobacco was against their vision of helping people on their path to better health. As you would expect, this decision attracted backlash from the public. They lost millions in revenue, too, but they stuck to their cause. The decision only cost them in the short term. They attracted more business partners who believed in their mission, and their revenue more than doubled in just about 18 months of implementing the plan. That's how the infinite game works. You can't see what the future holds, but if you're courageous enough to stick to your just cause, the payment will be huge. Infinite-minded leaders understand that best is not a permanent state. Instead, they strive to be better. Better suggests a journey of constant improvement and makes us feel like we are being invited to contribute our talents and energies to make progress in that journey. Simon Sinek. Try this. The first step in becoming an infinite leader is advancing a just cause. But you can't advance a vision you don't know. If you're a leader in an organization, determine if there is a vision guiding that organization. How inspiring is it? And how well have you been sticking to it? If you own an organization, don't just have a mental note of why your business exists. Document it so everyone else can see and run with it.